Yo, hey, what's up? The books in the background are finally going to change now. I've got some of my Chinese handwriting on the table for the first time in, I don't know, a year and a half. I wrote that out in my first week of classes here. I remember sitting down in a vegan restaurant and writing that out as rapidly as I could. That's just like, hi, my name is. I think that says I want to go back and study in Taiwan, which was not true at the time and is still not true now. I never wake up in the morning and wish I was back in Taiwan. But that would be the topic for another video. I got an email from another YouTuber called The White Pariah. Great name for a channel. She is open about the fact that she's diagnosed with serious mental disorders, serious mental health problems. That's a large part of what she talks about on her channel. She is also vegan. And she says to me that she has a lot of problems with people not taking her veganism seriously, with not taking her reasons for being vegan seriously, etc., because she's diagnosed with serious mental health problems. For me, this brings up a couple of different things that I think are worth chatting about, worth sharing with my YouTube audience, worth talking about, whatever. One is that we have to be really honest with ourselves about what we mean by being taken seriously. In your own cultural context, and taking into account who you are, where you are, and who you're talking to, what do you really mean by being taken seriously? If veganism just comes up in passing at the workplace, at a pub, at a nightclub, at the library, like if I'm on university campus, at a museum, wherever it is, what really do you mean by being taken seriously? What do you actually expect from people in your culture? And you've got to be really honest with yourself and really self-critical about those expectations. If I meet a guy, this happened to me once. I met a guy who was spending a lot of his time and money on these extreme sports that are similar to parachuting, but it's not parachuting. You know, you jump off a cliff and stuff like that. And, you know, like, I'm looking at him and I'm thinking, what the hell is wrong with you? What kind of a moron would spend his time and money on that? As opposed to, whatever, going and helping poor people dying of AIDS in Cambodia and all the ridiculous things I would do with my time and money if I had time or money. And, you know, that's the kind of guy I am. Now, if I'd said that to him, if I'd said, you know, I think you're a piece of garbage because this is what you do with your time and money, given what's going on planet Earth. That guy also ate meat and smoked cigarettes and whatever. I mean, you know, a lot of things he could change in his life. He would be in a position to be very offended. And, you know, here's this question again. What does it mean to be taken seriously? If someone tells me they're into these extreme sports, similar to parachuting, should I take them seriously? Why would I? You know, in that context where it's, I didn't choose to go to a lecture about parachuting. It's just a surprise. It's just come up. The people you're talking to in your daily life, they did not buy tickets to go to an animal rights conference. They didn't decide in advance, this is something I'm interested in learning more about. I'm going to go hear a lecture about veganism. You know, so, again, this is another difference between YouTube versus real life. So it is really important to be honest with yourself and self-critical about what level of respect are you looking for? What does being taken seriously mean to you? And, I mean, for that guy, I didn't take it up with him. In some sense, I think he does have the right to be taken seriously, like as an athlete, in terms of this sport or this hobby, whatever you want to call it. I think he has the right to be respected, have someone say, oh, that's interesting, or whatever other polite nonsense people say in these situations. Or, good for you. I'm glad to hear someone is, you know, pushing the limits of how to jump off a cliff with a folded up plastic parachute. Whatever it is you people do. He didn't sign up to be disrespected by me or cross-examined by me. And obviously, if you're watching this and you're vegan, you've had it both ways. You've had people cross-examine you and disrespect you, etc., and vice versa. You've probably once in a while lost your temper and cross-examined people or disrespected them. I don't know, you meet a friend for lunch and they're eating veal in front of you or whatever it is, or someone who says they're vegan just bought a leather couch. You say, what the hell, you're supposed to be vegan. For whatever reason, in whatever circumstance, you probably both have had the experience of people disrespecting you and of you being the one disrespecting others. It happens. It's part of life on Earth. Don't beat yourself up too much from it, but we all got to try to learn from these experiences. But the other big issue for me, this question or this letter from what Pariah brings up, is look, if people disrespect you and if people don't take you seriously for one obvious issue in your life, and very understandably, some women, like if you're a small, cute woman, a lot of people will not take you seriously just for that reason. Not that it's a bad thing. I had a small, cute girlfriend, and in some ways her views of the world were really warped by that. She was really used to, growing up just being kind of small and cute, she was really used to people making excuses for her, both not taking her seriously when she wanted to be taken seriously, but also she was not being taken seriously when she did or said something wrong. She wasn't being held accountable for anything she did, as if she's still a child. She's a fully grown adult, whatever, she's over 25. She's just small and cute, and people keep making excuses for her. So there are all kinds of things that can shape, and it's going to be very different in one culture versus another. It's going to be different in Japan versus China versus Germany versus France versus Canada. But if it's not one thing, it's another. In many cases, what really frames the conversations you're having is that you're talking to people who almost instinctually want to confront you, want to challenge you, want to see what you're made of, want to see if you have rational reasons behind the things you believe or not. And if it wasn't veganism, they'd test you on something else. And on the other hand, if it's the same topic, if it is veganism, and they're not taking you seriously because you're a female, well, if you were male, maybe it would be because you have long hair. And if it wasn't because you have long hair, it's because you're bald. And if it wasn't because you're bald, it's because you're fat. And if it's not because you're fat, it's because you're too pale. There are so many reasons why these people can challenge you. But I think what you have to recognize is they are looking for any reason to challenge you. And you've got to be able to detach those things and respond to the substance and the motivation, and not be hung up on the fact that they happen to be dismissing you or not taking you seriously for whatever the particular reason is. I've managed to get 7 minutes into this video without mentioning Cambodia, but here it comes. You'd think I miss Cambodia, and I don't. When I was in Yunnan, China, I ran into a guy who was actually a reasonably famous author. He was famous for people interested in that kind of history, culture, what have you. He'd written numerous books on the region. And I was mentioning to him that my future interest at that time, I was planning to move to Cambodia, and I'd visited there before. And he said to me with great exasperation that he never wanted to go back to Cambodia, even though he was very much involved in Yunnan, Laos, Thailand, etc., right next door. And I was interested to hear his reasons why. So I was shaven bald, as I still am. I've been shaving my head since I was a teenager. It's been a regular part of my life for a long, long time. And he complained to me about the way people would mistreat him, challenge him, disrespect him, insult him, because he had long hair when he was in Cambodia. This was an aspect of Cambodian culture. Now, he's not wrong. I know what he's talking about, and I know some of the reasons behind it. Cambodia is pretty accepting of transgender people. It's not as accepting of transgender people as Thailand or Laos, but compared to Indonesia or Malaysia, Cambodia is still on the list of the most accepting places in the world for transgender people, although not to the same extent as Thailand. But if you're a heterosexual man with long hair, that's what they can't really accept, because from their perspective, if you're a man with long hair, it's because sometimes you dress up on weekends. You like to be a cross-gender, either a transgender person or a cross-gendered person of some kind. But I said to him in all honesty, and this is Socratic method, but it's weird to me. This guy, I guess he's fundamentally just not that bright, because it's the most obvious thing. But I asked him, do you really think those same people wouldn't be challenging you wouldn't be insulting you, wouldn't be testing you, if instead you shaved your head and you went back to Cambodia tomorrow? Now, he was stunned. He had just never thought about it. But I said to him, and obviously I could speak from experience, if you take away the excuse, the pretext these people have for challenging you, for disrespecting you, for not taking you seriously, for asking you to prove yourself before you're taken seriously, then they will find something else. This is what frames the situation. The fundamental thing is they're testing you. They're wanting you to prove that you should be taken seriously. And if it's not your hair, and it's not your gender, and it's not your job, it's not your poverty. People disrespect me because I'm poor. I've been poor all my adult life. People will find some reason to challenge you. Or people wonder if you're a phony or if you really know your stuff, etc. If he went back shaven bald, these people would still be testing him. It just wouldn't be the hair anymore. It would be something else.